we will go ahead and kick it off with an introduction. And who's leading that introduction today? Is that you, Sam?
That will be Andrew. Let's see if he's on yet.
I wonder if we can start with Sam, and then when Andrew joins, we can switch back to Andrew.
Okay, so Anthea, you ready for me to kind of jump in? Okay.
That'd be great, thanks.
Good afternoon, State Housing Board members. I just wanted to jump on the call. I believe everybody has been notified that the public hearing that we were going to have today in order to add the administrative rule regarding states of emergency by local governments was not properly noticed. And in order for us to have a public hearing, we need to have that properly public noticed. And so we are going to look at a time down the road with the State Housing Board to get it reposted and bring it back to you in the public hearing. So I just wanted to thank you for your time and your consideration for this time that we did have scheduled. And I will be coming back to you at some other point, but right now we cannot have that public hearing or discuss that rule right now until we get everything properly noticed. So with that, I'm going to hang around just to see if anybody that is on the line is here for that public hearing on the administrative rules for factory built structures. That public hearing has been canceled and will be renoticed. And if I see anything pop up in the chat about it during the meeting, I'll try to respond to that. So again, State Housing Board, I appreciate everything. And if there was anybody on the line for the public hearing for the administrative rules for building codes and standards, that will not happen today. It will be renoticed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Do we have Andrew on the line? I know I saw Allison. Maybe Allison can provide the introduction if we don't have it. Oh, there's Andrew.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, board. And thank you all for meeting two weeks in a row. I appreciate us being able to review these 4 projects in advance of the holiday weeks here at the end of December. So in terms of updates, don't really have any further updates. We had a chance last week to kind of go over the budget as well as projects. So happy to answer any questions you board members may have. Otherwise, we can get right into the introduction of the projects.
Okay. Hearing nothing, Andrew, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and jump into the project application review stage. We're going to start off with Bridget's Village, and presenting on behalf of the borrower is Andrew Atlee.
Thanks, Anthea. So real quick before I introduce Christian and Sue, I just wanted to mention that you will be seeing Bridget's Village again. We're contemplating another funding source in addition to the HDG grant, and which will probably be presenting, I would say, late January, early February. But we wanted to give their investor a little bit of peace of mind. So we're going to present Bridget's Village for their $1.6 million housing development grant. We got Sue, I'm going to mispronounce it, Sue Pylon, and Christian Pritchett from Blue Line. So take it away, guys.
Well, good afternoon, members of the board. Know many of you. My name is Christian Pritchett with Blue Line Development. We're the development consultant on this deal on behalf of Bridget's Village, the organization, and John Peterson, who are co-general partners and developers. Happy to answer any technical questions around the project. As Andrew mentioned, we're coming before you today with the early request of the bulk of the financing that we expect to receive from DOLA here, and this really allows us to move forward with the closing and the transaction under the constraints of our carryover limitations on the tax credit award. the balance of what we'd be asking for from DOLA is an amount that can be guaranteed to the satisfaction of the lenders and investors. So that's why we're looking at kind of the two-phased approach here. I also think, the compelling story behind this is really the participation of Bridget's Village, the organization, which is local to Frederick, and their mission on this project and the vision that they've kind of held throughout the past 7 or 8 years as they've been working on this project. So with that, Sue, do you want to jump in and just kind of give a history of the deal?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, SHB board. My name is Sue Pylon, and I am a board member for Bridget's Village. St. Bridget's Episcopal Church had a vision, and it wanted to develop this land, which is 2.5 acres, for affordable housing. Their vision, of course, began like 14 years ago. I became a board member about 8 years ago, knowing that this development was going to affect my Frederick community, and I've lived here over 12 years now. There's definitely been an increase in population of the Carbon Valley area, which encompasses Frederick, Firestone, and Dacono. And this type of housing is not present. So we currently have about 62 people on our wait list. And again, no affordable housing in the area. People have to move to Longmont if they can no longer be in their homes. And so we would really like to see this development come to fruition. Thank you, board members.
Thank you both for that presentation. Do we have any questions from the board? I have a question. So Bridget's Village, Sue, you're representing Bridget's Village. Our packet says that you've never developed any affordable housing. So I'd like to hear, Christian, maybe you can speak to a little bit about how Blue Line is working closely with Bridget's Village to ensure the construction completion.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a joint venture. The ownership of this deal is a joint venture between John Peterson, who's an attorney with Winthrop and Weinstein, and is probably a familiar name to many of you on the board. He's been active in the light tech community for the past 20 some odd years, closes many deals in Colorado from the legal side, and has also throughout the course of the past 5 to 10 years built up a portfolio of his own deals that he owns and operates. And so he's very much in alignment with kind of the mission of tax credit ownership and providing affordable housing. And he is the majority general partner here and guarantor, and is acting in that role really to help facilitate the transaction and execute on the completion of Bridget's Village vision. Blue Line Development is operating as a turnkey development consultant on this deal in conjunction with Ryan Jones of RCH Jones Housing. So we've put together a really experienced team, and our consulting services agreement is actually with John Peterson as the majority general partner and guarantor, and our services are engaged through 8609 issuance. So we'll see the project all the way through completion, lease up, stabilization, conversion to permanent financing, close out with CHAFA, and then we're also slated to be the property manager on the project as well, just to ensure the ongoing compliance and kind of operational efficiency of the project.
Okay, great. Well, great team. Thank you for that. And you mentioned that you all were going to be the property manager. Thought I heard that Blue Line wasn't property managing anymore in Colorado. Are you just being selective and managing your certain properties?
That's actually, we have still a pretty significant portfolio of properties in Colorado, and we are taking on, we have a number of our own properties that are slated, and we are honoring a lot of those existing commitments that we had made previously to current partners, and this deal falls under that umbrella.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. Sam?
Thank you, Anthea. I wasn't clear on the proposal for the HDG grant. Is it going to be a grant or is it going to be a loan?
We have it slated as a loan. I mean, as a grant. There is a nonprofit, a 501c3 is affiliated with Bridget's Village that will be the recipient of that grant.
And just for clarification and to avoid any future confusion, Bridget's Village is a 501c3 organization that was formed by the members of St. Bridget's Episcopal Church. It's an independent entity at this point. And it was formed for the sole purpose of developing and completing this transaction. We've since changed the name of the actual project itself to St. Bridget's Apartments, just to distinguish the building from the nonprofit entity.
Okay. There's a couple of projects in the packet today, and the reason for my question was that I was just trying to understand the consistency between when we make a loan of our, DOH funds and when it's a grant. And so what I'm hearing you say, Andrew, is that this is a grant that's being made specifically to the nonprofit partner, even though the general partner may be a majority owner.
Correct. And Christian can expand on this, but I believe, the John Peterson being that majority owner in the general partnership, it is closer to a, 50-50 split, or, like 51-49 or something like that. We had gotten their org chart along with the application, but I'll let Christian expand if he would like to.
Yeah, John Peterson is the majority general partner for purposes of guarantees, because he's providing the financial backstop for the deal. It's incumbent that he also act in kind of that decision-making role. But the economics are largely weighted towards Bridget's Village, the nonprofit organization, with the Section 42 right of first refusal and the purchase option going to the benefit of Bridget's Village at the exit of the investor limited partner. So the overall deal economics are weighted more towards the nonprofit here.
What about in terms of cash flow participation? Christian, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so during the 15-year compliance period, there's a majority of cash flow that likely will go towards John Peterson to the extent that there is any distributable cash flow. However, based on the projections that we worked through with Andrew and the DOLA team, and given where we are in the current economics of the deal, we're actually showing that the deferred developer fee repayment is going to take us almost through the entirety of the 15-year compliance period. So we're actually not expecting that there's going to be any distributable cash flow to go beyond the repayment of that deferred developer fee. So again, kind of another reason for the grant structure here is that it allows for some flexibility with respect to residual value and true debt tests on the back end, because that deferred developer fee is taking us so far through the compliance period.
And one final question. Is the nonprofit going to loan the grant into the partnership?
That's the expected structure here. Again, it's going to be subject to cash flow availability within the waterfall, and that's done simply for tax purposes. So we're not creating income at the partnership level that depletes the overall value of the funding that's provided here by DOLA. But again, we're not expecting any distributions to be made on that throughout the entirety of the 15-year compliance period because of the size of that deferred developer fee.
Okay, thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Christian and Susan, for your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next is Adventure Inn. And presenting for Adventure Inn is Shirley Diaz.
Shirley, you're muted.
Sorry, got my camera on, forgot my microphone. So presenting today on the Adventure Inn acquisition is Jen Lopez and Kathleen Van Voorhis.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, State Housing Board members. Nice to see some of you again. For those that don't know me, I'm a housing consultant based in Southwest Colorado and Durango, and I've been doing housing consulting for about 24 years. And this is a project that's near and dear to my heart because it's literally in my backyard. I drive by the property every day, and I'm really excited to share this with you right before the holidays. So I am representing a group called the Community Investment Alliance. It's a nonprofit I helped co-found in 2021, and our executive director, Dr. Kathleen Van Voorhis, is on today in case you have any questions around the services and the programming side of the project. But then the Community Investment Alliance, although we're a new nonprofit, we have over 25 years of experience. We have a very strong board. We're a statewide entity, and we were created specifically to help communities who are impacted by COVID be able to access these special funds and create solutions. So this is a perfect example of how we do the work that we want to do. I personally have been working on homelessness issues for over a decade and trying to come up with new solutions in rural Colorado and Southwest Colorado. And coming out of the pandemic, things could not be worse. And I know that's true across the state, but in my community, I've seen median home prices up to $800,000 now, which is just unheard of. And we've got rents that hover between $2,200 and $3,200 a month. We have about 1,000 tax credit units throughout our county, and there's 400 plus, people on the wait list. So, it's never been this bad. And again, I know that's true around the state. I want to talk about what's unique about this program. I do think this might be the first time this is happening in a rural community, and we think it's going to be a potential model for other rural communities in Colorado. And what makes it unique is it's a bridge program, and a bridge program is a best practice and an innovative solution to help those in a community that have some kind of housing resource. They might have a voucher or a rapid rehousing dollars, but they still can't access a unit because the market is so tight. So in the scenario, we put them in safe lodging, we provide them housing navigation and somewhere safe to be until they can secure that unit. The target population for the Adventure In program is going to be seniors who are being displaced because of rising rents. It's going to be families in our local school district. We even have students at Fort Lewis College that may qualify for the program. There's a lot of support here locally. Again, the last 5 years, it's been a challenge to come up with new solutions around homelessness, and we're getting ahead of it this time. We want to go upstream, and we want to prevent people falling into chronic homelessness. Other partners include the hospital, our local navigation center, and huge shout out to our county, who used their own general fund money to provide pre-development so we could figure out if we had a project or not. The property itself is really in pristine condition. We love the name Adventure In. It's very apropos. It's 25 units in North Main, and it was built in the 1949, 1950. And the current owner, his name is Nigel Peck. He's had it for about 7 years. It's a labor of love for him. So he's been making improvements over the last 7 years. And honestly, once we close, we'll literally be able to open within a week and start serving people. Again, I do motel projects in other states. I've never had one come together this quickly. The location's ideal. We're right on a bus stop, right by employment. And again, our team knows bridge programming. Kathleen worked in Denver setting up some of the first bridge programs during COVID. And so she brings that knowledge to Southwest Colorado, and we are grateful. Again, the model uses low-cost financing to create the ability to acquire the property and also the adequate reserves we need to be able to sustainably manage the property over time. And then we also received a 1304 grant, which really gives us that extra gas juice resource to do the staffing model we want to do as a best practice the first couple of years. Again, this is desperately needed in our community. We're so excited that this got to you all before the holidays and appreciate you meeting and coming. This is a lot of work to meet before the holidays. But we will, if approved today, be closing in January and operating by early February. We want to end with a big thank you to the DOH team. We had a wonderful experience with staff, Libby Colin, Zach Schaffner, Kristen Toombs, Shirley Diaz, and all the Andrews. Thank you so much for getting us here.
Thank you, Jen. We have a question from Ryan.
Good afternoon, Ms. Lopez. Thank you for the outstanding presentation that you gave us just now, as well as your Herculean efforts in support of our community and particularly this community. I've just got a couple of quick questions for you. When reviewing the application, there was something interesting that talked about not only the services that you deliver, but the services that you intend to deliver in a culturally appropriate manner. And so I would ask if you would please expound on that, given my support of culturally relevant pedagogy as well as cultural multiculturalism in a culturally pluralistic society. And so, given that I'm a strong advocate of that, that jumped out at me. And so, if you could please explain what you mean by that, as well as also please describe or let us know if there are any mental health services that are being provided in conjunction with the other services you've already worked out through other stakeholders. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Kathleen, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So yes, culturally appropriate care is something that our nonprofit is very well, our foundation is based on, right? Trauma-informed culturally appropriate care. For this area specifically, we have noticed since I have been there in 2020 that, there was a significant lack of both Latinx services and respectfully, as well as Indigenous services across the board. So when we're talking about culturally appropriate care, we are in conversations with groups in the area that can bring in language justice, street medicine, talking circles, community engagement that's based purely in and around and led by individuals who were born and raised both in those communities and continue to work and facilitate services in those communities. A lot of our homeless, both state and federal response systems are just not set up, right, to be culturally appropriate in any way. And so understanding that we still have to navigate within some of those systems because HMIS, those types of things are there. We're able to bring in individuals that can help reintroduce that in a more culturally appropriate manner that is much more respectful of individuals' history.
And Kathleen, a couple caveats. We have we have a master's in social work program in Durango that has a beautiful pipeline of MSWs that are coming from local reservations, tribal communities. And so we're just really able to tap into the diversity of the Four Corners. But thank you for asking that.
No, I appreciate the explanation. And then the second part of the question, in terms of mental health services, do you have any stakeholders that are able to provide that as well? Thanks.
Can I take this one?
Sure.
I'm going to try to keep it really brief because I know we have a tight timeline. We Access Mental Health is in the area. We work with them ongoing. We also have a great relationship with Durango PD, and they have a special cares team. But most importantly, Kathleen has started to create our own social work program underneath the Alliance. And so we have 2 social workers right now, and one that can bill Medicaid. So we're trying to build out the ability to bill Medicaid. So again, we find it easier to sort of do both, tap into the larger FQHC, but also have specialized culturally appropriate direct service.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that specifically from an intersectionality perspective is that, as you know, mental health or mental illness is oftentimes at a minimum tangentially linked, if not directly linked with homelessness as a phenomenon under consideration. And so the reason why I frame that is because it seems like you good folks have already taken the steps from an advocacy perspective to reach out with other stakeholders. And so if you haven't already, maybe a subtle recommendation would be to reach out to those mental health practitioners if you could, so that they could also provide direct resources to treat psychosis that's often undetected, which leads to homelessness in and of itself. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Nancy?
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is a great project. And I've been working in this area of homelessness and so on for quite a while. So I know what an uphill battle it can be. I'm wondering how long these folks can stay. And if this is a refurbished motel, are there kitchen facilities or a shared kitchen? How is that all working out?
So we purposely, a couple of different things. There are not kitchenettes for a number of reasons. One, we don't have budget for it. 2, it would trigger a zoning change, and we don't want to do that. We really are running this as a lodge, and it works beautifully. The other thing is this is not permanent, right? So we want people to be safe, but not so comfortable, right? So it's just this interesting balance. And then Kathleen, do you want to speak to how long people can stay?
Yeah, and one other thing for that, just to clarify, is we actually are working really closely with partners. So there will be 3 meals a day offered. We'll make sure individuals have food,
Okay.
and those types of things. So we're not, that is something that will be available, knowing that that's also, right, another fiscally solvent thing we have to solve for. Individuals are allowed to stay, so we're running it as a lodge. So their bookings are 2 weeks at a time, but they're matched with rapid rehousing dollars. So they can be rebooked until our navigators find them a stable place. So we're expecting the first group of individuals to probably be our longest stay, because we do have more affordable housing coming online shortly within the next year and a half. And so we're expecting, individuals right now on average at a scattered site bridge program are staying anywhere from 6 months to 8 months. And again, that's with continued case management and housing navigation and the goal of finding something stable.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It would, I mean, every area is different, but it takes a while for folks to find a place. So otherwise they'd find it on their own, right?
Exactly.
So that's great. I want to again applaud you for that. I had another question, but it just sort of floated out of my brain. So I'll pass the torch here, but kudos to you and keep on keeping on.
Thanks, Nancy. Sam?
Thank you, Anthea. I'm just kind of curious. I see that all the dollars are for acquisition, and it's a 70-year-old motel or hotel. And in the write-up there, it was indicated that none of the units are accessible or visitable. Have you had any consideration about using some of the, asking for some additional dollars to help create some visitable units at a minimum?
We would love to. Good to see you, Sam. We would love to. That we have a very short timeline to acquire, so it's all hands on deck to acquire the property, and then that buys us time over the next couple of years to restructure the debt on the property and go after additional funds. I would like to bring in, and I'm going to forget the name. Oh, Homemade Colorado. So Homemade Colorado, if people know that group, it's the nonprofit arm of the home builders. We have a pretty strong presence in Southwest Colorado, so I'd love to engage them in some modifications over the next couple of years. But we didn't want to put anything in that we didn't have budget for yet. But absolutely, great question.
Follow-up question is that the property is for both seniors and families. Have you done any lead-based testing on the facility?
We did it all, Sam, because we didn't know, as you know, when you come into the state, you're not sure if it's going to be federal or state funds. So we came out of the gate with phase 1, CNA, lead-based pay, all of it. So there was nothing on site. So,
Okay.
yay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up to that question, Jen. It looks like there's no accessible unit. So with seniors, with families, with homeless individuals, do you have any adaptability accommodations that can be made if you have somebody who needs accommodations made?
I can't answer that, to be honest with you. I suspect because we have first floor. So there's first floor, there's a new addition, there's an upstairs, but we haven't dug into that. It's certainly on our list of things to do. Right now, Anthea, it's really about just getting the doors open as quickly as we can and making sure we don't lose the property. We have like 100 households right now that are looking for a place to be. But again, over time, you're absolutely right. If we want to serve seniors long-term, we need to look at that, and we will. So it's on our radar, but this is the fastest deal I've ever done. 7 months. 7 months. So there was a lot of good luck. Irish good luck and hardworking DOH staff. So
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, did you remember your question?
No, I think I was going to mention how wonderful it must be to have a source of social workers and others to work in your program. That's indeed fortunate, because that's really a problem for many organizations. So I think that's what I was going to say. Thanks for getting back to me.
And it's DU. It's DU's program. I was blanking earlier, but they're amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jen and Kathleen.
Thank you.
Can I have the next slide, please? Next up is La Luna Community Cooperative, and presenting on La Luna is Pamela Gibson.
Yes, thank you. Today we have Duncan Twyman and Tim Townsend with Thistle Rock and Laverne Schaefer with the La Luna Community Cooperative. Laverne, are you available?
I am.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a written statement here I'd like to read, if I may. My name is Laverne Schaefer, president of La Luna Community Cooperative. A year ago, September, the residents of a small mobile home park in downtown Old Lafayette, our worlds were turned upside down. The landlords that owned the park since the 1980s sent tenants a registered letter informing us that the park was going up for sale. This put the residents of the small 34-unit mobile home park in panic and fear of losing their homes. At the time, we knew of a couple options that could head our way. The first was a private investment firm buying the park with the idea of a large return on their investment, putting our lot rents at double what we are paying, putting half of us out of our homes. The second, a private investment firm buying the property, giving us some time to get our homes off of the park's property, then reconfiguring the property for condos and apartments. Thistle Rock then entered the picture with the prospect of becoming a resident-owned community. We organized. We set up our name, residents voted in a board of directors, and we were on our way. The numbers at the beginning of our payments were not in our favor. We were going to lose half of the residents because they could not afford the payment. The board took on the motto, we are not going to leave any of our residents behind, as they are our friends and neighbors. With that, we started looking for funds to help us purchase price of the park and to help reduce the costs so our neighbors would not lose their homes and become homeless. With the help of Thistle, we approached the city of Lafayette and Boulder County. We made our plea to the city council, and in return, the community was approved for a $495,000 non-payable loan. Boulder County commissioners matched the city funds. With more help from Boulder County, the commissioners raised that to $1.055 million for the purchase of our park. With the help of the state of Colorado and the DOLA funds, many of us that live in this small community will be able to stay in our homes with little effects of a large lot payment. In the La Luna community, 30 to 40% of us are retired and or living on disability. I have at least 6 widowed neighbors living by themselves on SSI only. In this troubling time of affordable housing, where would these ladies go? The city of Lafayette and Boulder County has helped us to make our dream a reality. Why not this great state of Colorado? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Laverne, for that wonderful statement, for all of the work that you put into this as well. Is today your birthday?
No, actually Saturday is.
Okay, well, happy early birthday as well.
Well, thank you.
I'm going to open it up for any questions from the board. I noticed in the write-up that at some point there's going to need to be a refinance of the Rock Community Loan. And I just wanted to mention I'm working on a similar mobile home park community, and the organization IDF, Impact Development Fund, is looking at getting some funds available specific to help residents refinance loans for instances like this. So I wanted to just share that as a resource. It looks like we have no questions. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, up is Diagonal Plaza and Pamela Gibson. You're up again.
Yes, thank you. Diagonal Plaza, now called Hawthorne Court, is will be presented by Laura Scheinbaum and Jessica Kenny from Boulder Housing Partners, as well as Ryan Jones from RCH Consulting.
Thanks, Pam. I'll lead us off here. Good afternoon. I'm Laura Scheinbaum. I'm Chief Real Estate Officer for Boulder Housing Partners. We're really happy and excited to be here today and present Hawthorne Court to you briefly. We really appreciate your consideration of the application. And I'd also like to extend a really big thank you to Pam and all of the DOLA staff for your ongoing support and guidance in bringing this project forward. As probably most of you are aware, Boulder Housing Partner is the housing authority for the city of Boulder. We're not only a seasoned affordable housing developer, but we also own and manage all of our own properties in perpetuity. Current portfolio is 1,600 homes, and then we have another additional 160 units currently under construction. That's all to say that experience, we know how to develop, we know how to manage. I believe very firmly that our numbers reflect what we do elsewhere in our portfolio. And through that experience, where we know the type of product that's going to resonate best with our future residents. A couple of things to highlight about Hawthorne Court. We are shovel ready. We have tremendous public and political support. This is housing that's going in a blighted parking lot. We're able to set aside 5 units for families who are at risk or experiencing homelessness. We have very deep AMIs, and then we have a neighboring property to a BHP property that there'll be a lot of mutual benefit to the two properties. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Jessica Kenny, who's a senior project manager here at BHP, and she's going to provide some additional project highlights for you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you. As Laura shared, Hawthorne Court is an infill redevelopment that will consist of 73 family units and 2 buildings. I'll quickly provide some additional information on the project. Hawthorne will offer a variety of unit types to serve a mix of AMIs, including several project-based vouchers that will allow BHP to serve very low incomes and families exiting homelessness. There's notable synergy with our neighboring Diagonal Court property, as Laura mentioned, where amenities include the many resident services being offered, including the I Have a Dream program and Boulder Food Rescue. Project is currently fully entitled with the city. We are in for permits and on target for an April 1st close. As always, BHP is committed to the highest level of sustainability here. The building will be all electric with significant solar, EV parking spaces with WaterWise and Xeriscape landscaping. We're tracking a goal of net zero energy at this site. Other factors that we believe contribute to the appeal of the site are the nearby amenities in the North Boulder location. The location is ideal and provides easy access to bus transit in Boulder's multi-use path, walkability to amenities such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and coffee shops, while still managing to feel surprisingly secluded because of an abundance of open green space. The amenities found at Hawthorne are typical to BHP tax credit projects. Our developments really focus on the resident experience, what our residents have requested in the past, and what has helped our properties lease up. Hawthorne Court will include in-unit washer dryers, Energy Star appliances, central AC, free community Wi-Fi, community rooftop space with mountain views, significant in-unit storage space, covered and lockable bike parking, and one-to-one on-site parking, including EV parking spots. In regards to the site's marketability, we've seen really strong demand across our portfolio and have no concerns about lease up, especially at the low AMI levels that we're committed to at this site. Occupancy is currently at just under 97% across the BHP portfolio. And I think that's it. To keep it quick, thanks for your time today, and we are open for questions.
Thank you both. Any questions from the board? Sam?
Thank you again, Anthea. And project looks great. I again have a question for the staff on consistency. This project has a relatively high debt service coverage ratio, and in the past, I've seen other housing authorities get a loan rather than a grant. I'm just wondering what is the justification for a grant in this case. And again, not that I'm opposed to them, because I think staff knows how I feel about that. Just want to question the consistency.
So in the past, our practice was to offer grants to housing authorities and nonprofits and loans to for-profits. And that has changed. What we do now is we look at an extended pro forma, take it out 30, 40 years to see if the loan could be paid back. In this particular project, it was not able to pay back. And so we looked toward a grant.
Okay.
Andrew?
Sam, it's also worth noting on this that our underwriting did take into account the higher debt coverage ratio in terms of an amount that DOH would recommend, as opposed to perhaps, and leave it kind of up to the applicant to max out loan proceeds or not. And that kind of affected the amount that DOH would be recommending. You'll see in the pro forma that the deferred developer fee is stretched out to year 14. And that, once we're getting past that kind of year 12, 13, or 11, 12 mark on a housing authority nonprofit, that's where we begin to kind of think grant as opposed to loan when we're talking about not for-profit developers. So it's kind of a combination of those couple of things.
Okay, great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And Pam, if you don't mind, I could just weigh in here too. I mean, I believe that we still have a gap. So the 1.9 is less than what we had requested. We're super grateful if that's where everything lands and comes out. But I do want to just say, I think that the way the BHP is underwriting and the way that we're looking at things, we still are sourcing funds for a gap of about $850,000 to $1 million. So the grant would be very much appreciated in terms of as we move this forward. And the 1.3 debt coverage ratio, I'm not sure if that's entirely exactly what we're seeing on our end in terms of the way that we are underwriting the deal.
Laura, maybe a follow-up question to that,
Yeah.
or Jessica, either of you can take this one. Is the 1.3 accurate? And if so, can't you borrow additional funds? And it seems like the property is running a fairly high per unit per annum operating cost. Is that typical of your projects in Boulder these days?
Yeah, so I'm going to have Ryan Jones, he does all of our numbers for us, answer the question on the debt service coverage ratio. But before I hand off to him, I'll take the question on operating expense. That is what we're seeing. That is taken from another project that is operating right down the road at 30 Pearl, almost directly. The one thing I will say that's in there is a number that is for that we're debating, and I do think you're right that there's some ways that we can look at that. But we've had some issues with some costs that have been not covered by insurance that are extraordinary. So we have some cost in there for extraordinary maintenance, and just to be very blunt, it has to do with meth. As a public housing authority here, we are working with the city to house some of the most vulnerable in our community, and with that occasionally comes some downsides to that. So we have seen some very significant cost in our operating world for mitigating and cleaning up any remediating meth units. So that is a piece of that. It's certainly a toggle that we're looking at and seeing how that we can solve for that. But that is, yes, Sam, you're right. We have some pretty high expenses in there, but it's all very much our experience of what we're dealing with right now as we lease up units.
So do you create a escrow fund to deal with potential meth problems?
We could do that. So in the operating budget, we do have an extraordinary maintenance line item. And so that is part of what is pushing that PUPA higher. In terms of generally within the organization, it's something that we're looking for to see if there's a way we can solve for creating our own sort of insurance fund that would be available to help with those extraordinary costs when we see them, and then pull that out of this budget potentially. So that is one of the toggles that we're looking at on how to solve for that gap that we're currently looking at.
Okay, thanks so much.
And if I may jump in here, Ryan Jones. Hi, Sam. I wanted to mention that in looking at this project, we're 5 months out from closing, and so obviously some circumstances will change, a lot of circumstances will change, but the way it was presented in talking with Pam, who worked with us extensively on this, is that if we, at the 1.30, it's showing an $850,000 gap at this point in time. If we add about $815,000 to the perm loan proceeds, we're at a 115. So the rest would be covered by deferred fee, but at this point in time, so it's just a matter of optics right now, if that makes sense. You can see that in the numbers there is a gap of 850,000 about.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
You bet.
All right, thank you, Laura, Ryan, and Jessica.
Thank you.
That is the end of our application review. Are there any board members that need to recuse themselves from any of these 4 deals that we have before us? Great. If I could ask then for a motion to approve Bridget's Village, Adventure Inn, La Luna, Diagonal Plaza as presented.
So moved. This is Ladon.
Thanks, Ladon.
Second.
Thanks, Sam. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raise.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, excellent. Well, congratulations to all of the applicants. It was wonderful seeing you all so many times this month, but look forward now to taking a vacation, enjoying the holidays. Happy holidays to everybody. We'll see you in January.
Happy holidays, everybody. Stay
Happy
safe.
holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.